What have you done?
Well, Paul asked me to drop something around his house, and he left his garage open. And I did drop off what I was supposed to drop off at his house, but I also picked something up when I was there.
Guys, Dan Hendriksen here. We're at Torquay Golf Club, and today we're going to be having a little look at Paul's driver. So we have his M2 driver that Lester has kindly borrowed out of his garage, and we've also got the 48-inch driver shaft that he's also been testing and potentially putting in the golf bag moving forward. So I thought what we would do is get some numbers from the standard length driver and also the numbers from the 48-inch driver. Let's see if there's actually an improvement or an increase in distance from this extra long shaft. So we're going to get some numbers with the standard length driver to get us going with. We're going to go 10 shots with each, get those numbers, and then give you an idea of what's actually happening with them. So before I hit any more shots, I just want to send you down to Paul, who's going to give you a little bit more information on what this driver is all about and how he ended up in that 48-inch shaft.
Okay, so this is my 2016 M2 TaylorMade driver. It's 9.5 degrees. I've got a Diamana whiteboard S-Flex shaft, 60 grams, 45 inches long. Still using this club because it gives me the best numbers on TrackMan. Tried all the latest gear, but the M2 2016 is still the best head for me. This is the Diamana whiteboard shaft, exactly the same as the other one. This one is 48 inches long. They basically come 48 inches when you buy them, so you cut them down, you put a tip on the end and then a grip on the end, and I'm just going to keep this one at 48 inches to see what the results are with it.
That's 271 yards in the air. You can see why these boys don't want to change this driver. So we're moving into the 48-inch driver now. Gotta say, the feel off the face, everything. I never used an M2 driver back in the day when they were out, but the feel and everything from that, I mean, it's pretty impressive. The feel off the face is really quite nice.
Have you ever used a longer driver?
Never, ever. This is my first experiment with it. So we're gonna go standard lofts. This is a 9.5 head, and I've set them both up in standard lofts, so that's not gonna change. Let's try and keep the profile of the club as similar as we possibly can. Oh, gee, I can feel the stretch already, like in my arm, just trying to get down there. It's like, oh, and he pulled my arm out of the socket.
What's your initial thoughts then?
My initial thoughts is, like, I'm concerned that I've got not a lot of control here. Like, am I going to hit anything on the way back? That it's so long, like it's so the head to me, it feels quite big when I look down at it from the standard length shaft, but now that I've gone into this longer shaft, the head now looks a lot smaller just because I'm so much further away from the ball. I know that's just a small thing really, but it definitely doesn't give you a great deal of confidence when you've come from quite a big head to now going into slightly smaller looking head.
So imagine your Titleist with that longer shaft.
Yeah, I think I think this head, because of the white effect on it, I think it actually looks quite big to me. I remember when these first came out and I looked at it, I was like, whoa, that's massive. I mean, it's not, because it's still a 460cc head, but the Titleist certainly looks a little bit smaller because of the profile of being all black. Definitely that driver of mine would start looking like more like a fairway wood, I reckon, with this shaft. Oh, my goodness. So alien. It feels so alien to me, just swinging that club back. I can't almost feel it. For something that is actually the same spec of shaft, like it's a 60 gram shaft, it feels so much heavier as well.
It's amazing what a couple of inches does too, isn't it?
It's amazing. Oh, always lowering the tone. Oh, I know I'm going to struggle to strike this. That's gone 261 though to get us going.
Why have you never experimented with longer drivers yourself then?
I don't know. I don't know really. Like, if anything, I would always go slightly shorter because I'm always looking for accuracy. Yardage for me over the years is not. I've never really looked at it as an issue for me. In when I was certainly competing as a youngster and into college golf, I think that the sort of mindset is that a lot of players on tour generally have gone shorter than what you get on the shelf, should we say. So going that extra bit, I remember Yamu Sandelin went longer in his driver, and I think there was a bit of experimenting going on, but I don't think it really took off, did it? It never really took off.
No, do you think that's got anything to do with the types of golf courses and sort of the level of ability and where you're competing at? You're playing regional and local stuff on club courses, whereas Paul's looking to play tour length golf courses?
You're probably right. The difficulty, what you've got to remember with me is that I've got quite a few scars with bad driving as a youngster. So for me, I've not really over concerned myself about length. I've been more interested in actually trying to hit the fairway. Like I don't stand on a tee and get nervous that I'm not going to hit it long enough. I stand on a tee and get nervous when I'm going to hit it out of bounds. Is more what I is in my mind. I don't know where to hit this. I don't know how. I'm going to phone Paul. Right, quick question. How on earth are you controlling this longer shaft? Because it feels like a fishing rod. It feels a lot heavier, and I'm just not. I'm struggling to time it. Like, it feels like I don't know when to start. When do I start hitting at it? Like, I feel like I'm swinging it slower. Not trying to hit at it too hard from the top, which is actually, it's really interesting because you feel like when you get this club in your hand that you want to go at it even harder because you want to get the yardage out of it, but actually you don't need to. I know that my club head speed has increased just looking at the numbers that we've got here, and I don't feel like I'm going at it any harder. If anything, I feel like I'm going at it softer.
So having the longer shaft, will that change like your delivery? Will it change your angle of attack into the ball? Will it change your swing path as well? Because obviously it's longer, we stood further away. What would you expect to see happen?
Well, let's just have a quick look at the numbers on that angle of attack, shall we?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to give you the full numbers right now because we're going to come to that in a minute when I'm finished off hitting, but based on the numbers that I'm getting just right now, my angle of attack on an average with the standard length in the M2 is 5 degrees up. That's quite impressive for me. This lockdown has done me some favours. Let's have a little look. And with the 48-inch, Bernie, I'm getting 5.0 on an average. So it's not making any difference. No difference at all.
So what about your sort of swing path into the ball? You come in more on the inside with the longer driver, as I'd expect? Average
with the standard length M2, 1.8 degrees right. So 1.8 degrees into out.
Yep.
And then when you put it into the 48-inch, again, we're not fully finished yet, but 1.6 into out. So it's not changing, is it? No. Like, I don't feel like I'm moving ball position around.
Okay.
I feel like my ball position's staying pretty much the same with the longer length club compared to the standard length. So you would think, though, based on that actually my path should change. It should go more into out because I'm a little bit further away. That club is probably swinging at it a little bit flatter. But based on the numbers of the angle of attack, based on the numbers of the path, I don't think that the ball position's going any further forward or further back based on those numbers, if that makes sense.
Do you think because you're a skilled golfer, you're able to slightly adapt and manipulate your positions to almost deliver the same, or to have the same delivery angles and the same delivery paths and etc.?
Because I've done so much testing, it doesn't become overly alien to me. I kind of just adjust to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
However, with this in mind, this length of shaft, the feelings from the top, all of those, the transition from the top, that is going to take me a long time. I think that would take me a long time to get right and get it consistent in my golf bag. Right, standard length shaft to get us going with. Ball speed off the face, 149.6. Launching it at 16.3 with a spin of 1973 revs. So really, really low on that spin. peaking out at 39 yards high with an average carry of 264. I've got to say, for the driver's age, to get those numbers is very, very impressive, which is why I can see all the guys that use the M2, why they still use it. But if we look at what I'm getting from the club head speed, 107.8 from this one, with a club efficiency of 1.39, so a decent strike. So I'm being consistent with my striking performance from it. My strike performance is 3 millimeters in the toe and 10 millimeters high. So I'm really getting into that optimal position for where I like to hit it off the club face. Gives me the best numbers that I can get, which is what this club is doing for me right now. However, when we go into the 48-inch driver, we're getting 152 ball speed off the face. So we've increased ball speed a fraction off the face, so probably a couple of miles an hour. We're launching at 16.2, so basically the same launch as what I'm getting from the standard length. But now's the difference. We're looking at a 2.394 in the spin. So spin is definitely revving up fractionally, peaking out at 43 yards high and an average carry of 264. So really there's nothing in it from that point. If we go over to what it's getting me in clubhead speed, I'm getting 110.5. So 110 mile an hour in the clubhead speed. That's an increase of around 3 mile an hour. Now, with that in mind, I should be gaining sort of 9 to 10 to 12 yards extra in carry if my striking performance is consistent. But I've got a drop off in efficiency, so I'm down at 1.38, and I was kind of explaining that when I was hitting shots, that as I'm hitting the shots, I can feel the strike sort of moving and scattering around the face, and that's just me not used to the club. If you look at where I'm actually striking it, I'm center, so I'm bang on in the center on an average, and I'm 7 millimeters high. Again, that strike performance moving more towards the center is not the most optimal for me. If I want to get the optimal because of my swing path, I want to get it more into that toe area. So I'm losing some speed off the face because I'm not striking it as consistent as what I'm striking the shorter one, but I am gaining 3 mile an hour in clubhead speed. So what do you think of those numbers then? So we're getting no extra yardage from that.
No, I mean, the numbers are sort of similar to what we expected to see. Because it's such a small test and you've only just been experimenting with this driver, the main thing is your swing speed has increased. So ultimately, if you improved your strike performance, which you would through practice and a bit of time and effort, I believe, you would see gains in distance.
Absolutely, completely agree. But did you notice anything different in my strike performance with the driver?
Yeah, I could definitely tell which driver you were hitting, mainly because the longer driver, it sounded like it was coming off quicker, although I could tell that some of the strikes weren't as consistent as you were with the standard length.
Okay. And what about my swing speed? Did it look any quicker?
To be honest,
because obviously we've gained 3 mile an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. I couldn't tell visually by looking. I couldn't really see a difference by your swing, but I could just. It was the sound more than anything.
So there you go. There's a little test between the standard length 45-inch driver compared to the 48-inch driver shaft. I gotta say, the difference with that 3 extra inches was quite remarkable. The feelings is hard to explain, but certainly having to wait for that club a little bit more at the top, I think if I started getting a bit pulley on it as I come down from the transition from the top to the downswing, I think I'd start to see real inconsistencies in my strike. It's almost like when I'm looking for more yardage, I go at it harder, whereas actually with the 48-inch driver, I almost needed to slow down in order to rely on that club to catch up and actually get a decent strike out of it, which, you know, you can't argue with the numbers. The numbers indicate that that extra 3 inches in length is gaining me 3 mile an hour in clubhead speed. Yes, my strike isn't perfect right now, which is why we're seeing a higher spin number, we're seeing inconsistencies in the actual efficiency off the face, but the potential is absolutely there. If you can get control of that ball, if I can get control of that strike, I think I'm going to see some increase in yardage. I would expect to see probably 9 to 10 extra yards out of the 48-inch driver compared to the standard length driver. And that is actually something that you'd want to potentially test and consider putting in your golf bag. But let me know, put your comments down below. I'd like to hear what you think. Should there even be a 48-inch driver? Should it be banned? I know that there's been some discussions on that right now, but I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. Have you also been out and tested the 48-inch driver. I'd like to hear what you think of that if you have been out and tested it, and would you like to test it? We don't see many of them about, but I'd like to hear if you would be interested in testing that. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button. We've got so much more content lined up for this year. We'd like you to come along on our journey. As always, stay safe and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Right, I better put these back in his garage before he notices.